So are local fish stores dying? In this day and age, can a local fish store actually survive? That's a question I've been asking myself for quite some time. But not only that, am I part of the problem or part of the solution? We're going to try to answer those questions today, so stay tuned. Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and today I do want to talk through this issue, the local fish store. Is it able to survive in this day and age with the internet? What really got me thinking about this is John from KG Tropicals did a video on 10 things you should know about fish stores. I'll put a link to that in the description below, and it's something I've been toying with a long time, and that video really got me thinking, can a local fish store survive in today's climate? So we all know with the advent of the internet, a lot of businesses have changed over time. If I go back to my childhood, I used to collect baseball cards all the time. And we would go to the local hobby shop, the baseball card shop, and we'd buy baseball cards. And those prices at the time were based on a couple things: what the hobby shop thought they were worth, and a little Beckett monthly baseball card book. If you ever collected baseball cards, you might remember those way back in the 1980s. And they would actually tell you how much a particular card is worth. And when you went to the baseball card shop, you expected to pay somewhere around that amount. But then an interesting thing happened: the internet and eBay. And pretty soon it wasn't the baseball card shops or some monthly publication that was setting the prices of the baseball cards. The baseball card prices were set based on what people were actually willing to pay for those cards. And in some ways, that's what's happening to the local fish stores as well. With the internet, it's very hard for some local fish stores to compete. Certainly on dry goods, things like filters and heaters and fish food, when people can just go one click away and order that stuff off the internet and sometimes buy it cheaper. But one area where a local fish store still may have an advantage is the fish themselves. For those of you who have ordered fish online before, you know it can be a little bit stressful. You place the order, you pay a lot of money for shipping in some cases, you have to be there when the fish arrive, so maybe you have to take some time off of work, and then depending on the climate, things can get tricky. What if they're sending something from Florida where it's 80 degrees, and then up by me where I live, it might be 20 degrees. Certain parts of the year, for people who live in climates where the weather changes, it might not be possible to ship fish. I don't want to have fish delivered to me when it's -5 degrees outside, or when it's the middle of August and it's 95 or 100 degrees outside. That can be really stressful. And so in those particular instances, the local fish store may have a significant advantage. So Primetime Aquatics community, I really want to hear from you. What are some of the things that keep you going back to a fish store? What are some of the things they're doing right? And if you've walked into a fish store before and you won't go back, what are they doing wrong? So for those of you who have been watching the channel for a while, you know that I do fish store tours. In fact, I will put that playlist in the upper right-hand corner. It's pretty cool. A lot of nice fish stores. But what you may not know, some behind-the-scenes information, is that for every store that I walk into, there are probably 5 or 6 that I walk into, I look around, and then I leave. Politely say goodbye, and I'm on my way. Why is that? Because I want to bring you fish stores that I think offer variety and are appealing. A place where I think you might want to go, a place where I want to be. So I think in some cases, local fish stores maybe haven't done a good enough job keeping up with the times. So if the local fish store is going to survive, what do they need to do? Well, there are some really clear examples. There have been some fish stores that I have walked into, and right when you walk in, the smell of musty, moldy air kind of hits you in the face. All fish stores are going to have that fish store smell, but when it's overpowering, that can certainly be a turnoff when you walk in the door. I have walked into fish stores where the tanks are grimy and the aquascaping is horrible, and there's detritus built up all over the bottom, and the glass on the front of the fish tanks are all really scratched up. Now, I am not saying that pristine looking fish tanks are the best for fish. In fact, I did a video on water quality and what it really means. I'll put that card in the upper right hand corner, where I make the argument that sometimes the cleanest looking tanks may not be the healthiest for the fish. That being said, you can have a tank that is clean looking, especially if you're running a business, and have it be healthy for the fish, where the water parameters are fantastic for the fish. And when you walk into a fish store and the tanks are in disarray, this is something that you can notice immediately that makes you wonder about the health of the fish. Speaking of the health of the fish, we have a fish store in our area, and I've walked in there a number of times, and one of the reasons why I haven't done a fish store tour of that particular store is every time I walk in there, there are a number of tanks where the fish are very, very sick. They've got ick, they've got fin rot, their fins are all clamped up, they're doing the death wave at the top of the tank, and I don't want to bring people into those fish stores when most of the fish are sick. Additionally, when I look at how the employees are handling that, the lights are not off. They're still selling fish out of those tanks. They're dipping nets in those tanks and then using those same nets to go into other tanks. Their hands are not being washed, and so they go into these tanks that are diseased and then immediately go into other tanks. The fish specimen containers that they're using to transfer the fish out of the tank and into a bag, those are being shared amongst different tanks. And the filtration systems in some cases are also being shared amongst a row of tanks. And so if one tank has got disease, the likelihood that that disease is going to spread to other tanks is fairly high. So I think it's really important that a local fish store, if they're going to stay in business, they have to have a fish store that is presentable, a fish store where people are going to want to go in there and spend money and spend time. The fish themselves, they have to be healthy. The other thing that I find interesting is the price. We're going to talk more about this in a second, but we've got a fish store, a large one by our house, and I happened to go in there one time and I looked down. I have a question for you. How much would you expect to pay for a full-grown mixed mbuna cichlid? What do you think is a fair price? When I looked down at the tank, I was pretty surprised. I looked down and they were trying to sell these fish for $40 to $50. This is a mixed mbuna for $40 to $50. Some of their mixed peacocks were being sold, or asking price was between $50 and $70. That's a problem, right? This same store had pairs, non-proven peacock pairs for up to $120. That is not going to be viable long term when people have the internet now and can go out and price check and look at other options. I think one of the other things that sometimes some fish stores neglect is selection. There's a fish store by our house that actually sells pretty decent fish at a fair price. And I used to go in there all the time, every couple of weeks. And over time, what happened is I'd go in and the fish would be the same as the time I went in before. And so then I started pushing off. I'd go in every few months. And now I might go in there twice a year, but it's the same fish. It's your common fish, your guppies, your platies, your mollies, your gouramis, your angelfish, cory cats, your very common tetras and barbs. And there is nothing wrong with those fish. I have lots of them in our fish room. But what happens when you already have those fish? There's no reason to go back. And so some of the local fish stores, at least in our area, they don't do a very good job of changing up the selection, the offerings, to keep people interested for those people who have more experience. So one of the things that I try to do when I bring you these local fish store tours is make sure that the tanks are in good order, that the fish look healthy, that there's a wide variety, a large selection. I also pay attention to how the employees are treating customers. And I will spend a considerable amount of time in a fish store before I ever ask to film in there, because I want to hear whether or not the employees are, one, knowledgeable, and two, they're interacting with customers in a respectful way. And I have found in some cases that in some stores where the employees maybe don't necessarily know as much as they should, and two, sometimes they can be quite rude, and I think that is a major turnoff. And again, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What are some of the things that really turn you off when you walk into a fish store? So I think people who are on social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, we can play a significant role in helping fish stores who are doing things right promote their business. Now, there is one area where I think the local fish stores are going to have problems, and that is competing against fish clubs that run swaps and auctions. And there's a few reasons for this. If you look at our fish room, the vast majority of the fish that we have purchased over the last couple years are almost exclusively through swaps and auctions and local meetings. Why? The most important reason is we have never gotten sick fish from any of these meets. Never, not once. I am not saying that people don't get sick fish from swaps or auctions. I'm saying for us personally, my experience has been we've never brought home sick fish. They've never gotten ick or fin rot or some kind of a horrible disease where they all die and everything in the tank dies. That is huge. There are some fish stores around us where if we go there, I know I have to quarantine those fish with meds or they're not going to survive. Now, should you quarantine your fish no matter where you buy them from? Absolutely. But it's nice to know that there is a 100% track record, at least for our personal experience, that we've never gotten sick fish from these club meetings. The second thing is price. I used the example of $120 for a pair of peacocks, where the male is just barely coloring up. We just got back from a Greater Chicago Cichlid Association meeting where we saw a full-grown male peacock with 4 females that went for like $25 or $30. Shell dwellers, often retail prices somewhere at least around us in the Chicagoland area, you might go as high as $15 to $20 a piece. You go to a swap or auction, you can find them for $5 for $25 or $5 for $20. That's a big difference. there's a huge difference in cost there, and the fish are going to be healthy. At least for us, in our experience, they've always been healthy. The other thing is selection. If you've got a smaller local fish store, they may not be able to bring in the selection. Where you go to a swap, you go to an auction, there can be lots and lots and lots of varieties there. In fact, for the GCCA swap, there are 140 vendors there. Anywhere from 800 to 1,000 people walk through those swaps every time they have them. That is 800 to 1,000 people that are potential customers for local fish stores, but they're finding value in these swaps. Why? Because of the competitive prices, because of the health of the fish, and the selection. So I do think there is a place for a local mom and pop fish store. I look at some of the good examples, some of the ones that I've shown you in our fish store tours. I think about Aquarium Co-op and what Corey's doing there, and you look at his fish unboxings, and they're amazing fish. There's a wide selection, and all I keep thinking about when I watch his fish unboxings is, why can't that be done where I live? A big market in the Chicagoland area, and so many of the fish stores, if they do have anything approaching that selection, the fish are either overpriced or they're sick. And I watch his unboxings, and I watch the way that he cares for the fish, the way he quarantines them, the way he meds them to make sure that when they get to the customer, they're the way they're supposed to be. That's huge. You look at the store, it appears clean, the fish look like they're in good order. And I think for a local fish store, if they're going to compete in this day and age with the internet, with us as a community, growing in knowledge, understanding what a healthy fish looks like, understanding where to get those fish at a competitive price, the local fish store certainly has a place for that. And I don't think anybody wants to see them go away, but you have to offer a competitive price, good selection, healthy fish, and an environment where people want to go and they want to shop. So is the local fish store dying? In a way, yes. The way local fish stores have been run in some cases in the past, that old method is dying. The new fish stores, the ones that survive, the ones that are really going to provide a benefit to their customers, are the ones that are engaged in social media. They have healthy fish, a good reputation, and they're invested in their customers. And I think those fish stores are going to have the support they need from their customers, and people on social media will embrace them by leaving good reviews on whether that's online review source or Facebook or even YouTube. So again, I wanted to put this together because I think it's an important question. And once again, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? I'm just one person. I would love to hear from the Primetime Aquatics community. What works? What doesn't? Where do you think the local fish store is headed in the future? If you enjoyed this video, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.